that every time someone describes us, we keep adding it to this.
Yeah, do it.
This
I've
long
got
list.
more. I've got more.
And it was moody, arty, noisy.
Yeah, once we got called City Rock.
Yes.
I don't even know what that is.
And we just kept expanding it on, but it's
Wire's been mentioned a few times, hasn't it? The band Wire from the late 70s.
Okay.
So yeah.
Sorry though, Mark, we interrupted you.
Very early Nirvana,
yeah,
because it's raw and noisy, and a bit of Beck. I don't know why.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll take that.
Like musically.
Yeah.
That's just what.
I love that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, but you definitely got the Nirvana thing there. I think there's definitely.
So, like, what are the influences now? Would you say on the band, if any?
It's a hard question.
It is a hard question. That's why I asked it.
It'd be easier to ask what it isn't inspired by dance music. Yeah, everything else is included, essentially, isn't it? Everything else has come before.
Well, when I first started listening to it, my first thought was, it should have like more polished production. But then, after a few more days of listening to it, I thought, no, because
that's
it
part
wouldn't.
of the
That's part of the
sound,
character of it. Like
yeah.
it wouldn't work. The more I got to know the songs, I was like, no, this is how it should be.
And if anything, actually, rather than kind of naming artists, I suppose we do kind of gravitate towards artists that are maybe a little bit less commercial in their sound.
But that's probably just says more about me. That's probably what I'm used to listening to. But then when I've actually analysed it and listened to it a lot more, and the things that I'm comparing it to, which I like, I was like, no, this is exactly how it should sound.
Yeah.
So one of the ones you had the live. Yeah, one of them was a live take from Warwick Bazaar, was it?
What is this on the YouTube?
Oh, is this the new one, the new EP?
The new EP,
yeah, the EP is actually recorded live, pretty much.
Thought that, yeah.
So the instrumentation was done live in kind of one night. We were kind of did all 4 songs in one night, and we probably did, I don't know, 3 or 4 versions of each and picked the best one and then overdubbed the vocal. And that was kind of because the album previous to that, although we're pretty happy with it, there was something about it that maybe didn't quite capture that kind of visceral quality we have live.
It was a bit convoluted for our style and sound.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, we sort of essentially recorded it how we did at Axes, Ghost, peel everything back, put everything on.
Click track.
Yeah, I mean, we still did it to a click track on the new EP, but again live, so it had that ebb and flow of tempo.
It's a different feel, isn't it?
But everyone was in that same ebb and flow, you know. So it actually made for a tighter record, really. I feel.
So when you were doing it live, you did different times. Were you like, this take is for the drums, or were you just recording everything all at the same time?
Everything, no vocals.
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
if you can get to do that, that's probably the most fun way to
It
do
was.
it.
It was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which,
Because you didn't sing vocals when we were recording it, did we?
No.
So yeah, that gives you another
Well, that
dimension
makes
of
sense.
learning the song.
Because you because you play guitar as well.
Mm-hmm.
So working on just playing, getting it right, and then the vocals.
I do most of the
Right.
vocals,
Yeah. So, but that's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think, we've been playing together 2.5 years, so we were kind of able to do that, and these songs are kind of well bedded in, so we were kind of able to do them without a vocal with not too much problem.
And I think this is the other thing between the album and the EP. I've said it before. It's that musicianship that's developed. 2.5 years has amounted to a super tight EP. Whereas the album was a little bit more, I was still, hitting the ground running a little bit because you guys wanted to record from what I knew then, pretty damn soon. Oh, you want to record now? Oh God, yeah, okay.
These are the songs. Go and learn them.
Yeah, but 2.5 years later, several gigs later, hundreds of hours.
And
of
the songs were
practice.
coming quite thick and fast as well, weren't they? Cause,
So this EP that's just come out, EP 1.
Yeah.
Is it intentionally not on streaming platforms, or is that coming later? Because I went online, assuming it would be there with all your other stuff, and I had to go to Bandcamp. Is that because the record label or whatever it is?
I don't want to take a dull turn, but that has a dull answer, I'm afraid.
Is it paperwork?
It's essentially red tape. Yeah, there's been an error with our distributor.
So it'll get there eventually.
It will eventually be on Spotify, yeah. It's just
It's
a
not a
good
big
job
deal.
we didn't go for like this big release date because the physical copies turned up late as well.
That's what I wanted to talk
nobody's
about.
fault.
You've actually, I haven't seen a new one of these for years. A cassette tape. Some people would be like, a what?
Wow.
Yeah, it's I love cassettes.
See, if I bought one of these, I wouldn't have anywhere to play it.
Yeah.
Looks cool, all right.
It does.
Yeah.
Show it to the camera. Some people will not have a clue what the hell that is. You'd be like, what is one of those?
Yeah,
Wow.
put that next to it and see, like, can you connect the dots? There's that meme, isn't there?
There was that, yeah. And CDs, which is an area of contention these days. Some people don't bother, but a lot of people sell them at gigs.
Yeah,
Yeah, we still kind of like the physical artifact, don't we? I think?
absolutely. Yeah.
And seeing the artwork and such like.
Who did the artwork?
I've done the artwork.
It's pretty impressive.
Thanks.
For everything. You're the artwork man for the band.
Well, I am thus far. So
Yeah.
Who are these people?
Funny story behind that, really, wasn't there?
oh yeah. Do you want to go ahead with that, Steve?
Oh, that was after a practice, or was it a night out?
No, it was a gig.
A gig, and we decided, we really need some photos, man, so people can like see who we are. And I mean, I've got a flat cap on there. I look like my dad.
It doesn't even look like you. I didn't even think that was you.
Yeah, and out of dozens of shots, that was the one that a lass called Lauren took, and
And then thought we'd turn it upside down.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks so confused.
Probably listening to Steve.
So where did you get the CDs done? What was the process for that?
What are they called? Who are they called again?
Oh, I call it CD promo disc or something like
That's
that.
it.
isn't
Yeah. We've outside of Brocken Spectre, we all make music outside of Brocken Spectre, and we're all fans of a physical copy,
Yeah.
and they're a really good company, and they always do a really good job. So.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with physical copies, if it will. If record stores keep closing.
Yeah, there's quite a few
What's gonna
opening
happen?
up, isn't there, though, in the last... I
Yeah,
think the
independent
last
ones are trying to
18 months has
keep
been,
it going. Because there's still vinyl, obviously.
Yeah,
apparently
yeah.
vinyl's going to outsell CDs for the first time.
That wouldn't surprise me.
No.
Yeah.
But CDs, it's more... obviously, other than at gigs, like, I don't listen to CDs in the car anymore. New cars don't have CD players anymore, which is a huge proportion of where today that's left. So things just seem to be on the decline.
I mean, on a personal note, I quite like to have a physical copy, and it to almost signify a period is over, if you know what I mean. Like sort of the song,
I agree.
the songs we put together for those two releases. Once it's on my shelf, as it were, as a CD, I can consider it done psychologically and move on to the next thing.
But once we're gone, will the next generation still value that? Will they still think like that? do you think? Will enough of them do that?
Well, the future always wins, doesn't it? So who knows what future generations will think?
It'll be a digital
niche
shelf.
audience for it, won't there? I think there'll always be an audience for it to an extent.
I think it will, a bit like vinyl, I suppose.
Yeah. And we grew up in the early 90s when CD was God, wasn't it?
It was,
kind of an
yeah.
amazing newfangled thing. We were like,
Throw away your
CDs,
vinyl.
Yeah, get rid of your vinyl.
Just running out of place. Like one of the latest Xboxes hasn't got a CD drive. It's all digital.
Laptops,
Game
laptops don't have drives.
Yeah, everything's just streaming now because we're all getting fast internet. So it's. I mean, I prefer the CD. I hope it stays because I prefer it.
I mean, streaming certainly has its place. I mean,
It's more these days. It's not financial. It's discovery.
absolutely, yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, you can't make money through streaming platforms unless you're already well established and already.
It's a
making
very
lot
small
of
fraction
money.
of everything else that you do, I suppose.
It's and to any band starting out, it's a necessity though. Getting added to people's playlists and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely.
And amazingly, the cassette, which is seen as a really anachronistic kind of form, is taken off a little bit in the last year.
Yeah.
So,
I've
especially
heard of this
kind
recently,
of
yeah.
noise artists in particular kind of love cassettes because they like the fact that it degrades. So
Yeah.
They kind of
They
like that
like the
idea.
fact that it degrades.
They kind of like that.
I want it to
idea.
fall to bits.
Yeah, I want it to fall to bits over the next few years, and it'll sound different every time we play it. Yeah.
It's like I've always said though, like things like this, you can keep and you can collect and you can hold on to, but you can't get, like I've said, you can't get like a 1994 MP3 re-release
No.
because once it's done, it's done. It doesn't,
Yeah.
Listen to how that digital format's worn out. You don't get it.
And we might put our
doesn't
next
age.
album out on mini disc.
Yeah.
Mini disc. I think that lifespan of mini disc was too brief. I think, wasn't
quick,
it?
wasn't
I
it?
It was
do-
good, but it was.
I do think as well that when people, not everybody, when some people listen to music through streaming or on their PC, they sometimes listen with a little less patience because they'll click between things very quickly. And I think especially with vinyl, it kind of doesn't quite force you to sit and listen to it, but I think it makes you take a bit more time out and maybe be a bit more reflective about what you're listening to. So the format can kind of influence how someone listens to something.
I think a lot of people today, music is just something that they do whilst they're doing other things.
Yeah.
I don't think as many people like I remember doing, just sitting and consuming an album front to back
Yeah.
as the person who wrote it intended.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People don't. That's not even a thing now. Well, artists have started just putting songs out. They'll put a song out every few months just so that when they go on tour in 6 months' time, they've got some new songs.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to spend all the money on a studio time because it's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we can't expect sort of to have our personal preferences be anybody else's. You know, that 40-minute time limit on an LP. You know, you would tailor your material to do that. And now it's essentially open-ended, like you say. People are putting out singular tracks, and again,
You're just adapting to the way it's being consumed.
Pretty much.
You either follow it or you just get left behind.
Yeah.
So a lot of artists, bigger artists, resisted digital platforms at the beginning because they just didn't understand. But then, obviously, somewhere along the line, they've realised that the next generation is going to find you if you're not there, where they consume it. If you're not there, they're not going to find you. So you just
we still do think a little bit in terms of side 1 and 2, though. Don't
a little
we?
bit. Yeah.
Side 1 and
absolutely.
2. I remember original cassette players, like there was no rewind, so you had to turn it over and fast forward one side to rewind the other. Original Sony ones, and they were massive. Or like ghetto blasters. People used to carry ghetto blasters on their shoulders.
Absolutely.
Didn't you used to have a ghetto blaster?
Bob had a ghetto blasters.
Yeah.
Blasting music down the street. The equivalent of that now is people music on their phones, on the train or on the bus.
Yeah.
Of course,
Shitty little
hip-hop
speakers.
always sounds better on a ghetto blaster.
It does.
I think most music does, to be honest. It's not intended for little tiny speakers. I know
No.
phone speakers are getting better these days, but still.
No, I agree. Whenever it's not for, like even you were saying before about sitting, really absorbing an album, really taking it in. It's you can't use a phone for that. You need a good stereo.
Mate, you could if you. I mean, headphones are decent, but it's like no one's dedicated the time to do that anymore, are they?
No,
They're not.
I
It's not.
don't think I've ever done it. Sort of, apart from
There you
in
go.
the very
He's a
early
young'un, innit?
days.
He's young'un.
He is, we're bringing him in, aren't we?
Yeah, and
I remember lying on my bed listening to whole albums, Michael Jackson, Metallica, all sorts.
I remember our
putting on
Absolutely.
just the whole thing.
I remember our conversation about shoegaze because we mentioned genres sometimes, wouldn't we? And we go shoegaze, and you were kind of intrigued by, oh, shoegaze, what's that all about? So we kind of played you that compilation.
Oh,
and you
yeah,
were getting
yeah.
really into
So
it.
there's quite an age range in this band then.
Yeah,
yeah.
So that obviously will play a part into the dynamic
Yeah,
of the overall
Yeah,
band.
It does. It does.
it does. Yeah.
I think is Jill the youngest.
You're the youngest.
I'm the youngest.
Yeah. We're
And he's getting on now.
we're a little bit older, not too much.
No,
A couple of years.
A couple of years. Yeah.
we stretch across 2 decades.
But that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
It's probably an advantage, especially when you get to songwriting.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes into the mix.
It
doesn't
does.
really?
It
How does
absolutely
songwriting normally work for this band?
It depends on the song. I mean, Marc turns up with a lot of Marc's. I don't know, writes what 90% of the lyrics. I write about a song a year, lyrics wise.
What about musically?
Sometimes I might come up with if I've written some words, I'll tend to at least have a riff, just so I can sing the words too. Maybe a verse riff or maybe a chorus, and I'll bring that along, and then everybody will really contribute and knock it into kind of a shape. And certainly from an arrangements point of view, Steve's been a massive influence, I think, from the drumming point of view and how that works. And Steve comes up with great kind of textural sounds which changes how the song is, and Jill's bass kind of always adds a lot as well, so it's very much a collaborative, but it's got a starting point obviously. So I might come up with something, Steve might come up with something, bring it in, and then over a few weeks we'll all just contribute and put it into to a sound. But I think what's really cool about it is that it's quite unspoken, so nobody says, oh, you do that or you do that. It just doesn't work like that. It happens really organically and naturally.
Pretty much the opposite to how we used to do it.
yeah.
Too many ideas.
Yeah.
So that's really, really nice, because as I say, I would never say to Steve, "Oh, could you do that?" Or he would say it to me, or I would say, we might give some really general guidance as to what we're going for, but nothing specific at all. So everybody just comes up with their own parts, really.
And then after a little while, we've got to hash it out until something sticks.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit of structure issue, or it could be like melody, or once we've got something down, we just need to keep beating it into shape at practice. And if we focus on a song for the majority of a practice or something, we can maybe have a song by
The meat and bones of it.
3 or 4 practices.
And that's the really exciting bit, isn't it? That's the bit, that's the bit you really buzz off, I think.
Yeah.
It's the bit I certainly enjoy, the getting something together. Like Mark says, if someone comes in with an idea, it might be one chord to another. It might start as simple as that, and then when everybody piles in on it, and it becomes a band composition. I think that's the thing we all enjoy the most. Because you know how it is. You spend so much time rehearsing and doing the other crap. It's nice to be able to have the time to just really, really work on stuff, and that's why we do it.
Experiment a bit.
Yeah,
have fun.
absolutely.
Definitely.
We always used to say, it's like, if you've been rehearsing something or you've been listening to demos, if something's stuck in your head the next day, that's something to do. Let's go back to that.
Yeah, stick with that. Yeah,
It becomes a pain though when I might have something stuck in my head at rehearsal.
You always used to have something stuck in your head.
And
Always.
This isn't working. Or
He's got the wrong song stuck in his head.
Yeah. Oh, I still have plenty of that, don't I?
Yeah, is that something
dreams?
you've always done?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think it's just a product of only practicing when I'm playing with the band.
I think he plays drums in his sleep as well.
Yeah, he does.
I well believe that.
Yeah.
So do you manage to rehearse enough
We
regularly?
try to
Every
rehearse
week?
once a week if we can. It doesn't
Because
always happen.
Renaissance man here has got about 4 different bands
Yeah,
to be rehearsing with.
No,
Just the two.
just the two at the minute. We do about not quite every week, but we try to. That's the aim, isn't it? And sometimes we achieve that, and sometimes we don't. But yeah, it's regular.
So have you been involved with all the songs since what's that one called?
Let's have a look at that.
What's it called? That Abstraction.
So
Which was last year's.
Abstractions, yeah.
That came out last year. So that
Beyond was already one when I joined, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Clap Hands was a new one.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these ideas you've had on the back burner for years anyway.
Yeah, there's
and you're bringing them out.
3 or 4 songs on this one that is on a previous release under different lineup.
Downtown Abstractions.
Yeah, that was a band. That was
Yeah,
us together, definitely.
Art to Face, I think that was.
Yeah.
Colour Fucker.
Yeah.
Ended Here, that was a new one.
Yeah.
Ended
wasn't
Here,
it?
yeah.
God.
You love that, don't you?
So when it comes to let's make a set, everyone votes.
Oh, it's a democracy, is it?
Oh, very
right,
much so.
okay.
Yeah,
And,
very messy democracy.
And sometimes, Ended Here has been a song that I've sort of fallen out with.
Yeah.
Just because I don't think I've got certain parts of the groove down, or for whatever reason it might be. One week it might be Ended Here, the next week it might be UIA. It's too fast, and then it's too slow.
And of course we love it.
Yeah, of course. So you try and get.
Usually the singer gets the strongest vote because they have to sing them.
It's definitely a democracy that way. Yeah, you don't always get your way.
I mean, if somebody really doesn't want to play something, there's no point forcing anyone.
No,
to
that's
listen.
true.
Yeah, so I think I pulled rank on Ended Here. You pulled rank on Stockholm once or twice, haven't you? Out of Range. So we've all got a song where we're like, no
chance.
I ain't seen Dead.
Outer Range has got one of those. We have got a recorded version, but not on our release. And Steve came up with, I think, a wonderful guitar line on it. But it's one of those guitar lines. If it's not perfect, it's got a slightly comedy feel to it. So it either starts.
That's why you should definitely use it.
It either starts absolutely fantastic, or we're all falling about laughing. It's usually one or the other.
Oh man, last practice where we were like absolutely just mashing through it, and me and you were pissing ourselves laughing, like we could barely keep the song going. We were just bent over laughing, and it's like, I finally got composed and cracked on with the rest of the song.
I couldn't remember a thing about it, how to play it. I think we'd taken like 6 months off playing it, and you thought your muscle memory will kick in, right?
Yeah. we did a nice thing, didn't we? I think it was Jill's idea. We did little cue cards. It might maybe your idea. Steve.
Oh no, Steve's idea.
Steve's idea. Cue cards for all of the songs we'd done, which I think was about 24, 25 songs.
Yeah, so
cue cards.
Little cards.
All the songs written out, so we can, rather than writing it down,
Like a set list.
scribbling it out, just so we can keep.
But
your
they've all got their
flashcards.
own little individual card with the timing on, so you can.
Okay.
And that was, we trying to make sets out of that, so that was quite cool.
But 22 songs in over 2 years. Like, I think we maybe managed 22 songs in material overall.
Yeah.
And in the other band, it's like we've got 8 songs painstakingly, like,
I suppose, the punk element, that's where the punk element comes in, because the shorter songs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the punk gigs, we can fit 40 songs in an hour.
And we do, kind of do write lots of songs, so there's always kind of new ones coming along, and it's kind of one of my frustrations actually sometimes is that the songs are coming quicker than we can kind of get them down.
Facilitate them.
Yeah. So you kind of start losing some of it.
That's a good position to be in,
it's a
though.
good position to
absolutely.
be
It's
in.
better than the other way around.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's always more ideas than time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Just in life.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Too busy.
Yeah.
But so, like, what have you got gigs have you got coming up?
7th of December at the Warwick Bazaar with is it Glaswegian band?
Frankie's Evil
Yeah,
Party.
we've got Frankie's Evil Party, who were a kind of punk, almost disco, really violent sound, fantastic band.
A violent sound.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah,
interesting.
We've got Kill Spectre, who we've always wanted to share a bill with.
Just with the name.
Get all the
Let's
spectres
confuse
in.
everyone.
Yeah.
Kill Spectre are a great Carlisle band. And opening the gig, we've got Chelsea Nash from Dumfries, and she's just giving a monologue. She's not doing anything musical.
All right.
She's writing something especially for the show.
Cool. Oh, going back to, I was going to say lyrics.
Yeah.
Do you have like specific themes that you normally tackle, or is it just anything?
I guess quite a few of the lyrics, certainly recently, I do have a bit of a political edge to them.
Right.
I kind of have a bit of a romantic sensibility as well. So, but I try to make
Romantic
them
punk.
Romantic punk. Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Punk is romantic.
It is. So, I kind of try not to make anything too specific. As such, I kind of leave a little bit in there for people to make of it what they will. But yeah, it's It
Between
is definitely
too specific
yeah.
and too vague.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff in the middle, isn't there, Mark?
Yeah, there's a lot, definitely a romantic sensibility going on, but yeah, it's some of it's kind of angry and hopeful, and there's definitely a kind of a wryness to some of it as well.
So I don't know if you've done a lot of gigs around here. Are you looking to go further afield at some point?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Where's the furthest we've done?
Kendal.
Kendal, yeah. Kendal.
Oh yeah.
That was a good gig,
Yeah.
wasn't
Was
it?
a good
Yeah.
gig.
Yeah. But no, absolutely. I mean, the past 18 months worth of gigging, as it were, we've really just been finding our feet and, just
Feels
finding
like now
our
is the
life
beginning,
sound.
really, where you've got stuff
A
in the
little
back
bit, yeah.
catalogue to sort of go out with now.
Yeah.
Especially with the new one out.
I would say the gigs that we've done this year, we've played more this year, I think, than the previous years. And the gigs this year, we've started coming away from them thinking, I was all right, actually. Start to feel like...
Quite together.
yeah, we're quite together at the moment, I suppose.
Aww.
And so, yeah, I mean, so with a lot of local gigs under our belt and a few more festivals and a few more recordings, then I guess
And
we should look to going
yeah,
away from home.
definitely. We definitely maybe like to play Glasgow or Newcastle or Manchester, somewhere
Oh,
like
yeah,
that would be
definitely.
really good. And we've got quite a lot of songs kind of ready to record as well. So there's kind of a
EP2.
EP2. Yeah, we're very original. So
Oh, it
there's
saves an
about-
arguing over the name, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
there's about 6 or 7 songs kind of lined up for that, so we're hoping to work on that early in the new year and gig around that and try and maybe focus around that in the spring and kind
So
of
what's
play.
your normal, like for the album, what's your recording techniques? Where do you normally do it at, or how?
It's always homemade, really, isn't it? One way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, they were both recorded at Warwick Bazaar, in completely different ways. But our rehearsal space is there, our gear's there.
Ah, right.
It's
Makes
my
sense.
workspace. So it just makes sense to do everything there. And I think we were also happy with the sound of the last EP.
The new one. Yeah.
In that, it's pretty much a representation
Of the band now.
of our live
That's
sound.
That's
and
always
whatnot.
quite important, isn't it?
Yeah. And we found that method really works for us, so we'll probably do the same again, live takes with
Yeah.
Yeah.
overdub vocals.
Cool. So how long do you think you could play for live if someone said play for 2 hours?
We probably could.
Yeah, I could
It's
do that.
it's pretty intense, though, isn't it? That's kind of what we're always
Yeah.
trying to keep it at a certain level. So I reckon I would kind of drop dead after about an hour.
Or lose your voice.
Yeah, because we could have quite a you know, like Frankie's like quite a violent and intense
Yeah,
set
yeah,
as
yeah.
well. But we do specifically write music that's a little bit more, you know, a little bit more poppy, a little bit more accessible to sort of, you know, sort of lull people to stay for the next song and then. So yeah, but we could probably got 20 songs, haven't we? Plus, if we dragged everything out.
We probably could do a couple of hours, but yeah, I don't know if my heart would last it.
I mean, a couple of hours, maybe a couple of anecdotes.
Yeah,
Might need that.
Yeah, maybe just one or two.
Yeah.
Is this, drumming wise, is this probably the most different band you've been in from what you normally used to, would you say?
Yeah, well, no, because I've always been essentially some sort of punk drummer. You know, even my sort of metal style still has vast amounts of punk drumming in there, and I think this, like Brocken Spectre, has certainly made me focus that a little bit more, and actually made me realise that I am probably more of a punk drummer than I actually think that I am.
You probably became most known for playing metal, but that's not really what you're rooted in, is it?
No, I mean, even when I first started, there was my very first band. You know, we were sort of a punk rock band then. I mean, it was a little bit more sort of jazzy and stuff like that. But no, I think this band has certainly allowed me to find the pocket, the elusive pocket that drummers find. You know, so
it's taken you a while, but
it has taken me a while. Yeah, it has. But no, it's absolutely focused my playing, like, for sure.
Different techniques and different styles.
Not necessarily different technique, but just or different styles. Just, you know, knowing where to sit. You know, rather than hard, loud metal. You know, I need to find a different position in a live mix. You know, or in a live scenario.
I suppose because in punk it seems like you're all together as just the song is the band, whereas sometimes in other styles it can be about the guitars or it can be about the bass or the vocals or whatever.
Yeah,
but punk's just like you just lock in and it just goes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's no lead, as it were. The whole we all play as if it's lead, I suppose, in a sense.
Yeah, definitely.
That makes you know, the song's the thing.
The song is the lead part.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think that's partly what I mean about the pocket as well. Do you know what I mean? Trying to understand that a little bit more. But I think that's just come with years of playing.
It's very
different bands.
It's very intuitive, isn't it? It's very much a feel band, I think.
Yeah.
And why a lot of it's so unspoken, that you kind of, you know, it's very rare anybody does anything where you're thinking, oh, what's he doing? What are you doing there?
Don't do that.
That kind of really doesn't happen much at all.
Well, if there is, you're very polite about it.
Well, you know how polite we are.
Excuse me, Steve. Can you never play that?
Just to be clear.
Is it easier to remember? It sounds like a daft question, but shorter songs.
Well, they're not necessarily all that short, to be honest. There might be 3 or 4 in a 12-song set that's like 2 minutes, and the rest of them are probably 4.5, 5-minute songs, aren't they? Quite complex. Well, I say quite complex, but quite complex sounds, and you know, and quite odd structures in some cases, and maybe like a really, really slow, soft stoner breakdown that lasts 4 minutes, but the song's actually a minute, but the outro's 4 minutes.
Yeah, we like to play with the arrangements a lot, so you know, it's fun sometimes to start a song with the chorus, you know, or whatever, and not have that verse chorus structure. We kind of tend to veer away from that, really, if we can. Yeah.
What's your bass player called?
Jill.
So what does she bring to the band? See, the only woman in the band. Does it change the dynamic? Does she keep you in check?
She's the mother of the band. Like, she does make sure everyone's looked after. Like, that's for sure.
Does she contribute songwriting wise?
Like everybody else, when a song's being put together, she'll contribute as much as everybody else with her playing and suggestions. She has
Has she been in since the beginning as well?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, she adds off-kilter bass lines, really, that seem to be always on the beat that you would least expect, but that kind of, it's almost turned into a signature sound on some of the songs.
That's cool.
Yeah, everybody brings something, they really do.
So have you already thought forward to next year? Plans for next year?
We've alluded to it with each other.
I think we've, as I say, we've got 6 or 7 songs that we've played in our sets this year. So they're kind of well worked out, I think. But with a couple of things to sort out, but they're pretty much there. So I think once Christmas is done, we'll probably get to record for January, February, get it done, and then maybe try and
Do a tour or something.
plan a few shows around April, May time, and try and go out of town. I think.
Yeah.
Is a rough.
Yeah.
It's a rough.
Very
day,
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very rough.
What about
rough
Lords?
plan.
Have you got much planned with Lords
Yeah, we've got 12 gigs booked for next year
already?
already.
Festivals?
Yeah, festivals. But I'm not going to say too much now because I might just announce something that's not ready to be announced. So
Classic Steve.
but yeah, 12, 13 gigs.
How's Kev doing? Is he bedding in?
Oh, he's bedded in. Yeah, he's grand. Is our Kev.
You got
That's
some
for sure.
new stuff on the go?
Yes, yeah. This is the thing. We're considering getting a record done later in the early next year. Maybe possibly, again, we've sort of like we have alluded to. What would you like to do next year? That sounds all right. Yeah, cool. Well, let's get there first.
Because same with this band, it's like you want to get something out that represents this lineup, this latest lineup.
Yeah.
Because that's what you want people to hear
Yeah,
on record and live.
Yeah, the focus for us is really just getting some out of town gigs, isn't it? Because
I think you need to
Carlisle
play
know who Brocken Spectre are.
Yeah.
Play to some strangers, some people have no idea who you are.
Yeah, it's always good.
Get some honest feedback.
Yeah.
It's always good, and it's just fun, isn't it? Just go and play.
Yeah.
No
absolutely.
expectations.
Yeah.
That's it.
Where do we think we're going to get? Probably up Scotland first.
Yeah, probably because we know quite a few bands up there.
I was going to say other bands is probably the way to
yeah.
swap. They've played down here. You go.
Well, with
play up
Steve
there.
and Jill running the Warwick Bazaar, they
yeah,
put
you
on
get
gigs
artists
on
come through all the
on a
time.
weekly basis. So it's like, oh yeah, brilliant. Just leave your details there, and we'll be in contact next year.
We'll be in touch.
You
We
owe
like
us a
them.
gig.
We like them.
There's a few favours to call in.
I'm putting all of those in the pocket. and
yeah,
pulling them out.
definitely.
So how old is the Warwick Bazaar? How long's that been going?
We had our 4th birthday just the other week.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, it hasn't been a venue for 4 years. It's vintage shop guys for 4 years. We've been doing the gigs for about a year and a half now, just under.
Was that just just think, I think we could do that, and just go for it?
We a couple of years ago, it was my 40th birthday, and I thought I'll throw a party in the shop. It's a ready-made space there, and you know what it's like when you're in a band. All your friends are in bands, so we thought we'll put a gig on, it's like a private one, and it seemed to work. Got a decent sound out of the room, and I guess that's when we knew we could do it then, and sort of later that year, it was Jill that came up with the idea of a cinema. And we thought the cinema was going to be huge and take off, and we'll do a couple of gigs on the side, and the cinema absolutely failed. and the gigs really took off.
It was a beautiful failure.
It was
It was a beautiful failure. There's about 4 people sat watching French New Wave, so it was really, really good. But yeah,
doesn't really pay the bills.
it doesn't pay the bills. What's that what it's about?
But because now I keep seeing gigs there all the time.
Yeah,
It's a great venue, mate. It is.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, it's 2 or 3 gigs a month at least, isn't
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's a nice balance between local bands and out of town bands, and as the name's getting
It's
around.
definitely on the map now, isn't it?
Yeah, people are approaching us for gigs,
that's
coming
my
from
next
Glasgow
question.
and the northeast, and sort of the mid north.
And I think people love playing there. It's got a really chill vibe about it, hasn't it? Very, really friendly, kind of quite low key. But you get we've had some pretty energetic performances to say the
There've been
least.
some great bands there. Yeah.
Have you got a bar there?
Yep.
Ah, cool. That always helps.
Yeah.
So it's like a proving ground or a testing ground for you to get other bands in and just pick them off and go, they're good. Like them.
Yeah, I mean, I've never. I mean, when we do the gigs at Warwick Bazaar, it's myself and Jill and Mike Roper that are doing it.
Mike Roper.
So I mean, Mike knows every band, I think.
In the world.
Yes, in the world.
Yeah.
His contact book is ridiculous. But for the outside bands, we kind of just look at bands. Obviously, they can't be too big to come and play. 60,
How many people can it hold?
60.
60. That's a good number. That's a good number.
But we can still kind of look at bands from Glasgow, say, and think, well, I just kind of like them, so I'll just ask. And that's kind of really worked out for us. I mean, as long as they're aware that, you know, it's all the gigs are like £3 on the door, and 100% of that goes to the bands. So you can, you know, you can come away with something fairly decent, really, compared to other venues.
Proportionately, it's the best paid gig you'll ever have. Really.
Yeah.
You know, bands could walk away with
It's a good idea,
comparatively a good amount of money that other gigs, you know, where there's hundreds of people and you've travelled hundreds of miles, be like, oh,
And it was trans-European this summer as well. You had a Riot Girl band from Holland.
Yeah, we had a band called the Clintons, and they were fantastic. They really were.
Dutch.
They were from Amsterdam.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they were absolutely brilliant. And they're going to come back soon, hopefully. So just kind of.
It's kind of a bit organic.
Yeah, I think maybe sometimes the lack of pretense is appreciated. You know, it's not one manager speaking to a promoter. It's just people saying, like, I like your band, will you come and play here?
It seems like just a friendly venue that people just, once they hear about it, or they go there, or they play there, they add it to their list.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much guaranteed a very receptive crowd, because it kind of looks really full.
You get 20 people in there. It's great.
I'd rather that than, like, say you were playing at a venue that holds 1,000 and you had 500.
Sure.
It's still better, more intimate to play 60 in a small place.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, bands tend to really like playing there as well. I think some of it is, I mean, again, you know yourself, when you turn up to a venue to play, all the things you don't like, you know, we were kind of well aware of that and tried to do away with them all.
Of course.
So yeah, it's working out. It's good.
So how many? I mean, is that, like, technically it's like your home venue then as a band?
Yeah, it is home turf, definitely.
I guess so, yeah.
Because there's a few venues that have sort of cropped up over the last few years. The fire station, the old fire station.
Yeah.
That's a great venue.
Yeah, I mean, that had the misfortune of being open just before the floods in 2015. It was shut for some time, but it's reopened again and putting on regular gigs, which is great.
It's one of those similar, probably what happened with you, just gradually
Yeah.
working your way up. Bigger artists come in, and it's reputation at the end of the day. The longer you're there, the better your reputation gets.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I remember the first few gigs we done, you know, there'd be 4 people there. The band would be absolutely amazing. And I think it was just in August we had our first sold out one, and we had to turn people away. And like turning the people away who were one of the 4, you know, it's like a knife in the heart.
The 4 of them were together, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all. They were very understanding, but people started bribing me, offering me like a tenner and things like that. It was bizarre.
Please let me in.
Well, no, so there was my friend's here from Australia and they're dying, so you need to let him in.
You're taking it a bit too far, man. I definitely don't believe you now. But do you go to many gigs, like big gigs, like?
Well, myself. I mean, the thing is that my free evenings are at the shop.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
So I mean, I find going to other gigs quite sort of anxiety ridden. I'm not particularly great with crowds.
There's a certain artists where you would consider it because you love the artist so much.
Oh yeah.
Like
who? Let's see. I saw My Bloody Valentine like about, how long ago was that?
Oh, that was 2013.
So
where was that at?
That was Glasgow
Barrowlands.
That's good.
And the earth moved, didn't it?
It was shockingly brilliant.
Yeah. Spiritualized.
So did you get the anxiety then? Did it bother you?
No. It was something that happened after that. It's just struggling with lots and lots of people and things like that.
Right.
I mean, one of the reasons kind of for opening a venue was to create an environment
that was comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Ah, right, interesting.
Yeah, that's made me sound completely egocentric.
I didn't actually realise.
I opened my own fucking venue.
Because I think I know how to do it better. No, but like, you wanted to do it and you've done it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Lots of people want to do it, but they never get around
there
to doing it.
There are good crowds in Cumbria. I mean, I was at Kendal Brewery last night seeing Fat White Family, and they were fantastic, and it was sold out, 450 people, and it was really riotous. It was fantastic. So the audiences are there.
Yeah,
it's just getting the bands here sometimes. Getting the bands here sometimes. Yeah.
I think a lot of bands expect too much too quickly.
Perhaps.
They're not prepared to put the work in of going around a few times to playing to nobody before people start showing up.
Well, it's a funny thing because gig attendance is something that, alongside recorded music sales, over the last 10 years, it's really rocketed down. I don't really know why that is. It might be tied up with younger people taking less drugs and drinking less nowadays as well.
Well,
But,
I think
I don't know if
a lot of it started when there was the credit crunch. 2008.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It hasn't come back up. It's probably come up halfway since then. It's never really. People are a bit more cautious about how they spend it. They don't have as much spare money for a start.
I also wonder
absolutely.
though if there's a lot of bands. There's
I've said this before. So many more now than there's ever been.
It must exponentially get more and more bands every year.
And everyone's getting bombarded with.
And there's only a finite audience. There's only so many people in the country, for example, that even follow music. Never mind follow, one genre or 1,000 bands in one subgenre of a sub.
That's really,
I think
really
people
true.
are spoiled for choice.
Yeah.
And
It's oversaturated, really.
And I'm very, very proud of the Warwick Bazaar for doing what they've done because they've gone from strength to strength. And I've played lots of gigs, lots of venues. I've attended lots of local gigs. So I'm not really one to go to some of my favourite bands. I just never get around to it really. But to see the Warwick Bazaar doing what it's doing, and that there is a hardcore crowd of music scene, people in Carlisle
who are looking for something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame Club Rock's closed. But
that's true.
I think even still, Warwick Bazaar has still sort of plugged the gap, a happy medium between the likes of the Brickyard or the fire station. It nestles somewhere nicely in between.
Levels,
and I've seen people from the metal rock community, starting to come to the Warwick Bazaar, and I'm like, oh, fuck, hey, you'll never guess who's here. Do you know what I mean? Like that's,
it's a sign.
And I think
it's. Go on.
Sorry. I think there's two sides to that diversity as well, because I bought records since I was 16 and I still buy records every week now. And
tell everyone about your
no. And it's
you can't say that.
It's impossible to keep up. Basically, I try, but it's difficult. But kind of on the one hand, it's fantastic that there's so much kind of range and option out there. But then on the other hand, people don't always kind of get behind certain bands, so you don't have that like you used to have. So there's kind of positives and negatives to it.
We've spoke about this before about when we went to Europe, the difference in attitude to people going to their local venue. They just go like we used to do here years ago. They just go to their local venue. They don't care who's playing. They're just going to go. Whereas here it's a bit more selective,
But I think that's what the Warwick Bazaar has.
That's what I was going to say. Going back to that bit more of an older
definitely
mentality.
Old school a bit.
Yeah, I'll listen to what's being put on. Rather than I'm making a conscious decision to go and see this band, I'll just go to this venue and see whatever's going on there. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah,
of course. You're playing an important role in your local community.
That's good.
It's not to be underestimated. No, but yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with. There's just people have too much choice now. Yeah. There's just not just in music, but in everything. There's just
that's true.
It's no wonder people can't concentrate on one thing anymore.
Endless rabbit holes.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed this. I struggle to focus on something without thoughts of something else creeping into my head. Like if I'm listening to a podcast, or if I'm listening to a song, or if I'm watching something, there's always something else to distract me. Whether it's my phone or somebody else or the radio, or there's always just. It never used to be like that.
The technology kind of lends itself to that, doesn't it?
Technology's creeping in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're constantly being bombarded with things vying for your attention. It can take some real discipline nowadays, I guess, to really focus on one thing.
Well, I personally, I think it takes real discipline to switch off. And, like, I'm dead busy with 2 bands and work, and everyone's dead busy with whatever it is they've got to do. And during that dead busy time, you're like, I just wish there was a day off where I was doing nothing, right? But when that day comes around, like, I'm find myself sitting at home.
You don't know what to do with yourself, do you?
Shit, I've forgotten something. I'm going to get a call off someone going, Steve,
where are you?
Since I've known you, you've had that mentality since I've known you, which is like 10 years or whatever it is. I remember we were going late for a gig. We weren't late for a gig, but we went to get you up out of your house. No answer on the door.
Oh,
so Andy had to climb up through the window at the top. I don't know how he got up there.
Was that on Broome Street?
Yeah. No, not on Broome Street, on Queen Street.
Right, okay, yeah.
And managed to get into your room and he tried to wake you up and you thought someone was attacking you. You went, really? You hit him. Sorry, not in the face or anything, but you just lashed out. He's always like, he always feels like if someone's disturbing him when he's asleep, like he's forgotten something or he should be, he's late for something. Ever since I've known you, you've had that.
Yeah.
Just on the technology front, we're kind of show our age here, but I remember going out to Steve's one night and Steve said to me, Mark, I've got this new thing. And I was like, what's that, Steve? The internet. I was like, what's that? And we sat there all night trying to work out what word we would put in, didn't we?
And wait half an hour for it to load.
A couple of days, I think it was. Yeah. So yeah.
The first time you go, oh, look at a naked woman. Well, I can see a shoulder. Now I can see her arm.
Well, I remember. Do you remember LimeWire?
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
So
Winamax.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like trying to find like a really obscure tune, like B-sides and compilation tracks and stuff, and you'd find them on LimeWire, and I've been looking for that for years. And you'd download it, and you'd have it in 3 days.
Yeah, even Napster, when you got like a slightly better connection, it still took like 25 minutes to download a 5 megabyte song.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But sometimes they might be half files, so you thought, well, I better download 5 other versions just to make sure.
We used to spend years tracking down records, didn't we? We used to talk about records for years, having never heard them. There's a record by Gene Clark called No Other, who was in the Byrds, and I read about this album probably in, I don't know, 1994, and I think I finally got to hear it about 1999, and Steve brought the cassette round of it, and it was just amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to wait.
I mean, it's. I mean, you know, it's like anything. It's good and bad in equal measure. I mean, like Marc says, it's incredibly frustrating. Really wanting a record, you know, you're going to love, and just not being able to get hold of it. And now, I think it's actually just been reissued for some anniversary.
It has actually, yeah.
It's very easy to get hold of, but that feeling of kind of searching for it and whatnot is
there's not
lost.
so much an exclusivity. Like I've got the only copy that no one's heard of.
It's a bit of a romance to it.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the frustration and the annoyance.
The 5-year wait.
Things like that.
Yeah, sometimes it was brilliant. That was part of the joy, was the discovery of it, or the search for it.
Definitely. Like you mentioned Napster before. I read a really strange. It brings us back to what we were saying about streaming. I read a really crazy thing about Napster. And you remember Napster got really kind of taken to town as the first kind of file sharing place. And they got into a lot of bother, and the designers of it got fined lots of money, I believe.
Yeah, Metallica sued them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. I remember the South Park episode. Anyway, somebody worked out the other day that, you know, it never kind of took on board that if somebody gets hold of a record for free by an illicit means, kind of likely to go out and buy it if they really, really enjoy it. And they worked out that on average an artist could earn more from Napster then than an artist does on Spotify now.
That's true, yeah. But the record companies buried their head in the sand.
God,
they were the ones who should have been able to deal with it and create an easy, simple, cheap way for people to do it legally.
Yeah.
But they just ignored it and thought it would just go away.
Just ill-equipped as well. Like, we don't know. Hang on, we don't 15 years.
This.
So right now,
this isn't going to buy my Porsche cocaine.
Exactly. So the fact,
some abstract.
What tells you everything you need to know is the fact that who did step in and deal with it is a computer company, Apple.
Yeah.
They took the reins and they got there first, and they set the precedent of how everyone else does it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it could have been very different. I mean, when Metallica's issue with it, they sued them. They were in the middle of writing a song and it appeared online before it was even finished, and they were like, hold on a minute. They were thinking of the future of like, well, that can happen to anybody. All your music could get out there, everyone could share it, and no one's bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is how I
terrible.
This is how I earn my money, and that's been taken away.
Yeah, the bottom's just gone, and record labels just kind of went.
Yeah.
until they realised, like within 2 years, the music industry was down 40%.
I mean, there was this guy who worked for Sony, and apparently one day a guy came to him and said, I think this was in like the mid to late 1990s, and he said that
that's when it started.
That music in the future, physical copies will go, people will listen to it online, they'll store their music online, there'll be no physical artifact of it. And this guy was like, no way, no chance, absolutely not. And so this money this guy was asking for the record company guy gave it to a band called Menswear instead. I don't know if you know Menswear, but the worst kind of example of landfill indie you've ever heard.
Third division Britpop.
Yeah, and the guy that was asking for the money went on to start Yahoo.
Menswear or Yahoo?
I don't know. Who's going to bring that money back?
Go with that?
But yeah, I mean, all those companies are like the gatekeepers of like Apple. They're like who would have thought they would have been the ones who decide how we consume our music?
Yeah.
What shape or what format it goes. I mean, a few years ago they stopped selling downloads. It's just you just subscribe to Apple Music and it's just streaming now. Which is the way it's going to go. So I hope CDs never go away.
I think there's always going to be people who
I hope enough people
who want to hold something. You know what I mean?
Because I mean, who are your favourite artists? Do younger people not want to like read liner notes and look at photos? I mean, no, you can get all that online, but
it's not the same though, is it?
Yeah,
holding something tangible in your hand.
You want something tactile, don't you?
There's people now growing up who've never had any of that.
No, I mean, I used to. I grew up in Sillith, and I used to get the bus to Carlisle. I used to shop in Pink Panther and Vimto's, which was still around then. And even Vinyl Vault too. And you know, the hour bus journey back, I would spend sort of looking at every square inch of this record or CD.
Yeah, I remember just going, I'll buy that. I like the look of that. I would buy something how it looked.
Yeah, how it looked, definitely, yeah.
Some people wouldn't be able to get their head around that.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked it when you could go and listen to something as well in the store.
Oh, then listening booth.
Yeah, listening booth.
No
put it
way,
on.
I forgot all about them.
But because we had two guys on from Barrow record store, TNT Records in Barrow, and that's what they're all about. They don't sell CDs. I think they do vinyl, and they do some other stuff as well, like merchandise of all the bands and stuff like that. But they've just won an award. They've only been open about 2 years for like one of the best. They got shortlisted for the best independent record store.
Oh wow!
I was in there earlier. This shirt is really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Top guys.
Yeah.
Like I just saw them in the local press about they'd opened it, so I had them on, and they were on for like 2.5 hours. And it just went like that.
You know, you were saying about record shops. I mean, the last few years you've had places like Vinyl Cafe opening in Carlisle, Jellybone Records as well. It's a great record shop, and these have only been really able to open because of the resurgence of vinyl, I would say.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I worry. I hope that the younger generation will they value music that much where they'd want to go and do that, or is it just something that they'll just click on?
I think the audience
in the background, just click on that song.
I think the audience is quite mixed for the vinyl resurgence, isn't it? And it's been going about 7 or 8 years now. I think it's starting to plateau out a little bit, but I think there's still a lot of young people who really do like that.
They did
like
say
vinyl.
that they were getting more and more young people coming in,
looking
up vinyl, and that's obviously an influence from other people, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it has bad points too. There's kind of a lot of fetishism about vinyl, and people start putting too much, and then sort of overlooking the music itself. You know,
for the product.
Yeah, definitely.
It comes with a badge,
or a sticker, or a poster
something like that. And it's like, well, you know, you're charging some extortionate amount for this. Ultimately, all I want is the record.
Yeah.
And so I always wonder, like, will teenagers like have posters on their wall anymore?
Oh, surely the poster is a
because no one's buying magazines, which is where you used to get them.
Well, that's a good point.
Does anyone read magazines?
I do.
Yeah?
I do. Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
No. Have you ever read magazines?
Well, I can read if that's what you're suggesting.
I've got a kind of terrible story about posters. My attic used to be covered in posters, when my mum came up one day, and she said, "I think one of your heroes has died," but she couldn't remember who it was.
Oh my God!
So she basically spent half an hour looking around the room trying to work out who it was.
Is it him?
Pointing at people and saying, "No, it's not him. No, it's definitely not him. It might be him."
Oh no! That's the worst game in the world.
So
guess who?
Who was it?
It was Kurt Cobain.
Right.
I remember that vividly. He was one of my heroes. I'm left-handed. I had the same guitar, same hair. I look like a girl.
I can't imagine it.
I had the long hair. And I used to steal my mother's cardigans as well.
We're all
buy some flannel shirts.
Flannel shirt. We're all Nirvana fans, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Jill's a massive Nirvana fan.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal, really.
Certainly were.
Short-lived.
Fantastic band.
I just don't like Kurt Cobain didn't want. He wanted to be a musician and make a living of it, but he didn't want to be famous. And when you're that good.
Well, that's the
it wasn't up to him.
It
wasn't up to him.
Really, you know, you don't want to.
It was because
You
it
don't
was
wanna sell
overnight.
out.
It was overnight though.
Yeah, it
And
must
he
have been
wasn't-
incredibly difficult.
They
to
didn't
take.
have like some bands. Each album does a little bit better, and then they get to a certain point, and one of their albums breaks. But by that point, they've already done enough gigs. They've travelled enough miles. They know how to handle themselves. But they were just like they were paying in bars, and then Nevermind came out. They were sold out. It's just like he couldn't handle it. He was not built for that. He didn't want it.
No, it's a very sad tale.
It is. He was always really conflicted, wasn't he? I think?
Oh, very.
Yeah.
One of the most conflicted people you could probably meet, and it was because of the fame. The fame was just getting on his nerves. All the contractual obligations of having to go and do this and go and do that. That's not why he wanted. That's not why he started playing in a band.
And he loved the punk rock ethic, didn't
Yeah,
he?
exactly.
Kind of DIY ethic. So he really struggled with it all.
Like some of the stage stuff they used to do. Like there was one of the Readings where he went on
He
on
did.
a wheelchair.
He was pushed out by Everett True in a wheelchair. Yeah.
And there was a couple of gigs where he just walked off. Oh, I remember one. I can't remember what song it was. They played it and he absolutely nailed it. And he just put his guitar down and just like walked off. You know what I mean? Whereas most people are like, "Come on!" It's like, whatever. Yeah, almost you kind of got bored of how big the band became.
Well, I think
which is weird.
There's that problem of it was Geffen that signed them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And like a massive record label. And and kind of one half of you must be thinking, well, it's brilliant. My record's going to get around the world. And you want people to hear your music, of course you do. But trying to square a monolithic record company giant with punk kind of ethics, it just doesn't work.
And no preparation for it. No.
Yeah.
And then in Neutral was almost an exercise in kind of kicking against that to an extent.
Let's try and do the opposite for the next one.
It's kind of probably my favourite record by them, but it really is. Let's get Steve Albini in and let's make it sound like...
Probably Nevermind for me is I've listened to it far too much.
That's a lot of people's problem.
So I'll go like 4 years and then I'll maybe listen to it. Oh, that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. I mean... I love all their records, really.
I do. I remember having their first couple before Nevermind on vinyl.
Oh, Bleach is fantastic.
I think Jill's favourite's Bleach, isn't it?
It is Bleach, yeah.
You can't. Well, the thing about vinyl is you cannot replicate that sound. That hissly kind of, I don't know, there's a quality to it that you just can't. People have tried to sort of put vinyl filters on digital music, but it's just
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
No, unless
it's also the actual physical sound setup of a vinyl player.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you need a true
speed wobble as well.
You need a true kind of like analog line from recording right through to the lacquer cutting for it to
everything's
be truly
analog.
Yeah.
I mean, the Foo Fighters did one of theirs.
Oh yeah.
But they mastered it digitally. They didn't do the full thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do that these days and have it be viably released. I don't understand. I don't know. There must be a reason why they didn't do that.
There's
Money isn't one of them.
There's a studio in Glasgow called Green Door Studios, and I think I'm right in saying it's one of only two truly analog studios in the UK. And it was wonderful to watch them. I was there recording with another band, and watching them change the tape over and things like that. It was wonderful, but you were so precious about takes.
You have to be. Is that? Do you think it'd be more expensive to do it that way?
Ultimately, no. It worked out about the same price.
Okay.
I mean, it was a really great studio, really great people, and the kind of, they do things like tailor towards your financial abilities.
I mean, I feel lucky that we got to go into like a professional studio and do it the way we did it, but I always wanted, like, we really aced to do it on proper tape, like actual tape, where someone's going to do your takes and cut. Have you seen the bit where they cut? Have you seen Sound City?
Yeah.
But some guys like marking the tape and cutting your best bits together.
Yeah.
Because that's why you could argue that music before the digital era was a bit more authentic, because it was all, you had to get it right.
It was a take.
There was no, I'll just delete that and just copy paste that. There was none of that. There was no auto tune.
Yeah, there was artistry in post production and engineering and production.
Like overdubbing was ridiculous.
Yeah,
they had to like cut a tiny bit. I'll put that over the top of there. Like, if the guy messed it up, it's cost like thousands.
Yeah, you'd be cutting this thing on a beat.
Yeah,
and having to match it up perfectly. Crazy.
You can't even imagine. Like now, it's kind of been lost. The artistry of that's been lost a bit, hasn't it?
It's that horrible thing as well, wasn't it? The BBC would tape over things up until the early 70s, wasn't there?
That's
so
right,
there's loads of performances lost. Kind of, they just tape over it.
Just need the tape.
It's like taping over your wedding video.
Yeah.
Stuff like people like Nick Drake, I think, did BBC sessions, and,
That's right.
and you can't get them.
So people today don't have to worry about taping over things. All they worry about is running out of space. That's today's problem, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, God knows how many hard drives we've had to buy for this thing.
Many.
Audio and the video side of it as well. Gigabytes.
Wait, you
of
keep
just-
them all. You
keep
store
them all,
them
yeah. Just for posterity. You never know when you might need something. I don't want to have to delete stuff just because less space.
So you got a box of hard drives.
Just
somewhere.
I think we're on the 4th hard drive now, because like the videos can range from like 5 to 10 gigs per episode. So, but have you guys ever thought about doing a video then? Has it come up?
We've got
it
one.
did.
We've got one video.
But remember that video we were going to do walking through the bars? And
Oh, yeah. There was a whole plot line for that, wasn't there?
was,
And it didn't
yeah.
quite come off.
I think the main concept of the video was it was for a song on the album, not from the EP. It was an older song. And what we were
What
gonna
was it gonna be?
we were gonna go through Botchergate on a Saturday night.
Good luck with that.
We were gonna. It gets worse. We were gonna walk into a pub, and the whole point was we weren't gonna organise with the pub that we were doing it beforehand because we wanted to capture people thinking, "What are they doing?"
Punk
Right.
as fuck, man.
What was the song?
It's punk
say?
when you call it the black
It
eye.
was
That's
gonna be
punk.
Clap hands.
Was it?
Yeah, and this camera was going to be kind of following us walking through this pub as we picked up other people's drinks.
Assaulted.
That could have become a viral video on Lad Bible or something like that.
Yeah.
and then we realised it was an awful idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, botch again. Exactly that. There's a reason why they put gates at either end of it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you can relatively do something simple. Video. A lot of it's videos just for like so people can consume it online on YouTube and share it and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be something expensive that you put.
You had your little kind of shopping centre footage, didn't you, that we put onto
Yeah.
Downtown Abstraction,
Yeah.
which is about kind of me hating shopping centres and them making me feel really queasy.
I hate shopping
that's
centres.
kinda-
I hate
yeah,
shopping,
yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah, so I think that was kind of really suited that song. didn't
Yeah,
it?
it was a load of you
Like
know, like,
CCTV footage.
yeah,
Yeah.
CCTV
Yeah.
footage and stock footage and things like that, and it was just mindless consumerism. And I thought it was arty and cool. So.
I saw a good one the other day where it was just a montage of the band playing the same song in different venues, and they tried to set the camera up in similar positions each venue. Obviously, it wasn't quite consistent, but it just gave a really cool atmosphere of like each gig that they played, wearing similar clothes, standing in similar positions, but then all of a sudden they sped it up at some point.
Sure.
It just looked really cool, and it just made the band look really, I don't know, like busy. You know what I mean? Travelled a lot, and it was just interesting. The different crowds coming in and going, and it's
You know,
just-
you're saying that there's a few local artists, and they've had some really good promotional videos recently. Melanie Baker had that one where she took a piano up a mountain.
yeah,
that was
so
really
yeah,
cool.
she's been on here.
Well, there was a Little Strings video that was really cool.
My little brother have recorded. I haven't seen. I don't know if it's released, but didn't they take all their gear up to the top of the mountain as well?
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, need
Oh,
to find
yes.
Melanie Baker there.
I'll
Already
send
doing a
pictures of that or
video.
something.
So the thing to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
they
it's
do. They
definitely-
do that for a gig.
Is it a gig?
They go up there and do like gig in a shed. It's not a shed. It's I can't remember what they're called. But they've been doing it a few years. It's really popular.
Oh,
It sounds like a
okay.
really nice idea,
Yeah.
and they love it too.
Yeah, but we should maybe have a look at the.
I don't want to go up a mountain.
No.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No.
But you could just put some footage together. Doesn't have to be anything major. It's just it's just another way to get your music out there, I suppose.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a enthusiasm, isn't it?
Yeah, we do.
Punk
Yeah.
as fuck.
Just have like a camera on one of your faces through the song. That's it. That's the video.
That's more likely.
Yeah, or like that video of Frankie's Evil Party, was it? Where he's pulling at his face and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and they would get porn playing behind them.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best
Proper
videos that
grip.
we had was the one that Richie did when he came to Belgium with us.
Yeah, but that was so. Oh, that one. Yeah. I thought you meant the one at the.
In the cave.
That was so
Cathedral
hard to
Cave.
do.
That's
Yeah.
a cool video. That's good.
The one in
Cheers.
Belgium, because obviously we were there when the terror was on lockdown. So we had to go through that. Remember in the queue of the traffic, we had to go around all that, and they were all like searching everyone's vans and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't go to Belgium. Terrorist threat. We're 10 minutes from the venue.
fuck it, we're going. But
You
he
didn't think you'd be suspects with Dynamore.
But he just had a GoPro or two GoPros. I don't know.
No,
Just one.
just a GoPro strapped to my hat for the whole
yeah,
night.
and then he used No, he had two because he had one in the audience as well. The footage was from the side and he had two. That was just two GoPros.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he
it looks pretty
synced
good.
up. He synced up the album version with the footage. and he mixed
amazingly
it in.
as well.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah.
Because we play it like 400 times faster than the recorded version.
I wonder whose fault that would be.
No issues with that in this band,
No.
No, but it worked. Like we didn't really know what he was going to do. He didn't really explain it to us fully what the concept of it was. But when we saw it, we were like, "That's amazing."
No, Richie Johnson had vision like when he came and did our stuff.
So you could probably work with him.
Probably good, but I think isn't he off gallivanting around in a van, living in a van nowadays?
I think he's going to. He's not done it yet. I don't think he's gone too far.
I haven't seen him for years.
But do you know many video creative people?
Not well, kinda.
As many as you would being in a band setting.
Yeah. I think it helps when you've got a new release to have some sort of video representation of something as well to share online rather than just the audio, because you get different people who want to see a video, some people want to see the audio.
Yeah,
I'm warmed up to the idea of doing a video next. Yeah?
it's not something we've really thought that hard about, is it? But it's possible.
And it doesn't have to be difficult, like
No.
you say, you know.
Doesn't have to be putting yourself at risk in Botchergate.
No, I would like to see that though. That would be brilliant.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it since we talked about it. I still think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
See if you can make it from one end to the other alive.
I mean, you remember when we used to hang the camera from the nail and the early practices and record practices like that, and it'd be just this camera just swinging like this, looking at nothing, look at just a plain old wall, but like us practicing in the background.
Didn't we always say we could have like a Mr. Ben style fancy dress thing going in the shop, because there's so many vintage clothes in there?
Well, that's where
we could have all kinds of characters walking in and out.
That sort of picture came from, because we were like, yeah, let's all get dressed up, man. That's why I've got a bloody flat cap.
But there's only actually Steve did it. We obviously all bailed out.
Yeah, you did. It's yeah, you need to have a word about your commitment here, guys.
Yeah,
lack of commitment.
I think we pushed you in first, didn't we? Well, I'm here.
Yeah. Well,
So what is that?
That is.
Ever taken acid?
It was.
I'm talking about the cover of Abstractions Attractions. That's what I'm talking about.
It was a bowl full of dead lilies that I froze and then mashed together and took a photo.
Oh right, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's actually
It's a what? Sorry.
It was a bowl full of dead lilies, and I froze it and then sort of took angles, shining different lights through it and whatnot, and then superimposed them on top of each other. It's supposed to represent the abstract of the abstractions of the title.
So he sounds like someone who could do a video.
Yeah, there we are, Steve.
Yeah, I had the Botchergate idea.
Yeah. You know what you could do? You could do. Remember, Windows Media Player used to have those visualizations while your song was playing. Just do one of them.
That's not bad.
Mesmerizing. Just like, what the hell is that? Because that's subliminal messages and music in I've seen in like art they have, where they like there's messages in the music, or you're so mesmerized by what you're watching, the song's seeping in your head as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that reminded me of.
And you kind of
like,
play a lot of films at the shop, don't you, behind the bands?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It looks.
That's
great.
a good idea.
Yeah, that kind of.
It doesn't matter who's playing or what's playing on in the background. It looks like it's meant to be.
Do you try and match it with the music?
Sometimes, I mean, you know, the brain looks for sort of moments that go together. You know, you're ignoring all the things that don't go together. I remember there's a moment in one of our songs where Marc repeats break, 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 break over and over. And we had a Japanese movie, it's psychedelic horror film from the 70s. And there was this woman turning to ice in the background and slowly breaking as Marc was shouting this other. And you didn't turn around, you had no idea this was happening behind you. But things just seemed to line up. Sometimes, you can, if you know a band well, you think, this will really work with them.
Or do you go, I know what to put on.
And then you get people coming out and saying, "Oh, I love the band, but what was the film?"
Yeah. I didn't hear the band.
Yeah, I suppose if you don't know what it is, it's intriguing. You kind of get distracted by it.
It's very.
Yeah.
I think it's
really
very
well.
very like the label 4AD.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the covers on 4AD, people like the Cocteau Twins. So it's got that kind of shoegazy feel for me. That cover, it's a great cover.
Yeah.
So the new EP, pick one track, if I was to recommend a track that represents the band, what would you suggest?
Oh, I would go with feature length.
Feature length.
Cool. We'll put links in the show notes. So the latest EP is EP1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's out now. and it will be on Spotify
It will
soon.
be eventually, yep, soon.
So we'll put links in all the show notes. What is your next gig? Remind us.
7th of December
At
Warwick Bazaar.
Right, was that? And obviously you'll have EP out next year and other stuff. So we'll have you back on.
Cool.
We'll
Great.
probably get the full band on. Why not?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you
that'd be
do
good.
do you do acoustic stuff?
No.
It's not possible.
No.
We could accommodate that in here if you come up with something.
That seems very,
firm no.
seems very unlikely.
So it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for coming down.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers, bye.